Tejo, when I spoke to you on Friday, you brought us news that that rescue operation had been put on hold for various reasons, but one of the main reasons being that the miners that were employed by that mine before said that they would not continue to be part of rescue operations until they were paid money that was owed to them from the last few months already. What is the latest from there?
Well, Marcel, the situation is still the same. Just before I walked in here, I was speaking to the secretary of the NUM branch in Mpumalanga, and he just mentioned to me that it's still the same. They are hoping that COSATU will go to Mpumalanga tomorrow to speak to those workers just about them allowing for the operations to carry on so that they are able to just rescue those people that are trapped underground. About 22 people are underground at this point in time, but the workers adamant that no rescue operations will take place until they have been paid what belongs to them. The main thing here as well, Marcel, is that the business rescue practitioners are on site at this point in time, and they're the ones that are trying to get the transformers fixed and that type of situation. So the workers have taken this particular tragedy to actually voice their concerns about them not being paid for a few months, their children not being able to go to school, homes being repossessed, cars being repossessed. So they're saying that operations are not going to continue until they get paid from about October that they have not been paid.
Now, what are the business rescue representatives telling you about the possibility of these men getting paid?
When I spoke to Mike Elliott, who is the business rescue practitioner representative there, he's just mentioned to me that they are still in discussions with the Department of Mineral Resources and the NUM and the workers just about the possibility of getting paid as soon as possible, paying them out as soon as possible. But the main issue here for these particular workers is they want to be backdated. So they want the payments to come from October to February, all these months that they have not been paid. And one of the workers actually showed me a letter that stated that because they could not get paid in January, hopefully they'll get paid end of this month. And they said that they can't live on hopefully and perhaps. It needs to happen as soon as possible. But the BRP saying that they're trying their level best. They are working very hard to try and pay those that used to work at this mine.
Now, you spent some time there over the last few days, and the Gloria Coal Mine, we understand, is a Gupta-linked mine that has since been closed since about September, I think you mentioned. What can you tell us about that area? How dependent were the communities living there on work from that mine, and what kind of impact has its closing down had on the miners and indeed these communities where these illegal miners are coming from?
It actually had a really massive impact, especially with the coal and the copper cable thieves. So what happens is at that particular Gloria mine, just opposite it, there's another mine there. And apparently that mine has been stripped of all its copper. So this is a syndicate that I was told that it actually takes place at that particular area of Mpumalanga, where people go into these mines and they take this copper out of desperation. And now it's even worse because now there's nobody on this particular Gloria Coal Mine where there's no one working. It's only security guards, and these people find their way into the mines. But it had a really massive impact on the community because it was a really big mine, and we do know that not far from the Gloria Coal Mine there's also Optimum Mine not far from it, so that one was also closed down. So it's people that are there, they're really struggling at this point in time, but they are saying that they will not go into thievery, they will not steal anything. It is a syndicate that is taking place at this point in time there, where people are going into these mines. They are vacant, there's no one there, and they find their way through the security guards. They push their way through and make sure that they get into the shafts, and it's dangerous for them down there, but it's not the issue is not that it's dangerous. The issue is that it's poverty, that they desperately need some form of money to get to either feed their children or to feed their families, and that's why they then go into these shafts.
It must be a very, very unsafe situation there as well. What do we know about how these illegal miners go about their business?
So Mike Elliott, who is the BRP representative, he mentioned to me that they go over the fence and they use ropes to go into the shaft, into the mine shaft. And then from there, they'll push their way through security somehow. They force their way through the security or the police officers that are on duty, and they go into these shafts, but using ropes. So they go into the shafts, and from there, then they find the copper that they need. And once they've gotten it, then another group of people might come through to get the copper, and probably go, then they'll they'll go under, and the ones that have gotten the copper will then go out. Then another group will continue trying to find more copper. But what happened with this particular one was the explosion that was then caused. They're not quite sure how the explosion happened and what caused it, but Mike Elliott is suspecting that they probably lit a cigarette, which is illegal underground, or they tried to cook something, because apparently they stay there for a few days as well. They tried to probably cook something, and then this explosion happened, trapping the other 22 people that are now still underground. So they find a way, Marcel, they find a way somehow to get themselves under. They push their way through security guards, and once they're under, all that they want is copper. And the meters of copper that they want, they sell it on the streets for about 40 Rand, 80 Rand, which is much less than what you actually buy this particular copper for.
We'll leave it there for now. Tshego Moage will keep us updated on whether or not those rescue operations will continue at Gloria Coal Mine. If not today, then hopefully tomorrow. Thank you so much for your work on that story.